I'm your friend, Dr. Charles Apoki. I want to share some thoughts with you. I have preached this message before many years back, and it's reoccurred today that I should do a follow-up to the video that I did on why some people need to personalize their lives. That you can walk in a place and not maximize your life. And that when you get into old age, you start regretting and asking people what to do. Somebody roofed a very mighty church in this country, one of the first biggest churches. And he died without a roof over his head. And I was complaining. I said the church should have done this, done this, done this. And one intelligent young man asked me that if he did not build a house for himself, whose fault? Whose fault? So whose fault that you are associated with a big man, a big ministry, a big organization, lots of talents, education, and you didn't achieve anything in life? Now you didn't plan for yourself those P's I talked about. And that's why I tagged this message, Executive Leprosy. Leprosy is a very debilitating illness that eats up the body, but most importantly, your extremities get lost. Your toes, your fingernails, your fingers, and you can get burnt without knowing that your fingers are burning. If you take a needle and pierce it through the ear of a leper, he will not feel pain. One of the ways to diagnose leprosy is to tell the person to close his or her eyes, then use a whiff of cotton wool to rub the forehead. He will not feel pain. And then there is this unnecessary enlargement of the ulnar nerve, so they don't feel pain. Now, if you don't feel pain, you can't react to danger in your life. You can't react to something that is unpleasant and uncomfortable. Now, if you read in 2 Kings chapter 5, 1 to 19, you will see the case of Naaman the leper. Naaman the leper. Naaman was a great warrior. He was respected by the king, and he was a man of valor. And the king allowed Naaman to come into his presence. I know Bible scholars will say that the word leprosy in the Bible refers to any skin lesion. But the truth of the matter remains that no leper was supposed to meet with people. In fact, the word stone throw was that is the distance that a leper has to stand away from somebody so that when you throw a stone at him, it doesn't touch the leper. And in those days, in the Bible, only two people wore bells. The priests ministering inside the Holy of Holies will wear bells round the hem of his garment, interspaced by fruits of pomegranates, so that the noise will not be too much. But if the bells are not ringing, that means the priest is no longer busy. And there is a rope usually tied to his waist, because if he died inside, no person can go in to bring him out. So, if a priest is busy being productive, doing the right thing, the bells will be ringing. The other person that had the bell around his waist was a leper. When a leper was walking, the bell must be ringing, and he will be the one shouting, "Leper, leper." People will be running away. And so, why was a leper with a king? Why was he serving in the army? 2 Kings chapter 8 from 4 to 5. In fact, the whole of 2 Kings had a lot of lepers. 2 Kings chapter 8, 4 to 5. There was Gehazi the leper. Gehazi was leprous, but the king called him into his palace. Come and tell me the stories of the miracles that Elisha did. Gehazi was supposed to have a quadruple portion of the anointing of Elijah if Elisha got double portion, Gehazi was to get quadruple portion. But Gehazi became a storyteller instead of a history maker because of greed. But he had executive leprosy. He was coming to the presence of the king to tell stories to the king without him being driven away. My eldest son, Dr. Mimi Apoki, was the one who gave me the title of executive leprosy. I asked him that why was Gehazi in the presence of the king and Naaman in the presence of the king? He said that they were executive lepers. So this topic, executive leprosy, is that man. Remember, lepers don't feel pain. Gehazi was a great man with his master. You can be great with a master and be a non-entity. He was associated with power and authority, but he was a leper. He was insensitive to his situation. Now, Naaman had titles, commander of the army. If any organization wants to make you an executive leper, they will value your talent, value your productivity, value your anointing, praise you, then they will give you titles. And because you are eager for these titles, you will forget to plan for yourself and think about your life. You are waiting for a system to promote you, not knowing that there is the iron law of the oligarchy. You are pastoring in a church and you are not a graduate. Then you are pastoring, building. A time will come, the church will say that if you don't have a master's degree, you should not pastor with them. And they will throw you away because you are educationally leprous and you did not feel the need. By the time you build churches and you're about to retire, you have no building over your roof. You have become leprous in terms of accommodation. Now, they will give you privileges. Oh, when you work in the bank, you will not tie, you wear coats, you stay under air conditioning. If you are the ones that go to source for loans and customer care, they will give you a driver, you dress very well, but most of you don't have money in your accounts. If they retrench you suddenly, you don't have anything to fall back on. You are an executive leper. You are working in an oil company and you are enjoying so much privileges. Before you know it, they retire you. During fuel scarcity, you will carry a jerry can looking for 4 liters of fuel. Why didn't you open a petrol station? You are an executive leper. They have treated you like big boss. But in that company where you are working, you are defective. So when they want to render you useless, particularly those of you who work in multinational, they give you perks. You travel overseas, you go on holidays, you go here, go there, insurance, that, but your future is not insured. You are an executive leper. Then they can pamper you. Oh, you must not travel by road. You must fly. We don't want to risk you. The reason they are doing that is not because of the value they have for you. Is that they don't want to pay compensation for accidents. They don't want to lose man hours. They don't want to pay ransom through kidnapping. If you don't take time, you are an executive leper if you don't think about your life. I know a medical doctor that worked in an oil company. He had nothing he established. He had no house. Very brilliant medical doctor. I schooled with him. It was the day I went to preach in his church that his brain opened. And then he opened a business, bought a house. After some time, they retired him. He didn't live long. He passed away. If not that he felt insulted by what I said and then got insight, he would have made his wife and his children vulnerable. Executive leprosy. Mighty man of valor. You can win many battles for your denomination, win many battles for your political party, win many battles for your denomination, for even the nation. You see sportsmen die poor. You see musicians die poor. You will see actors and actresses die poor. You will see people who fought for the liberation of their people in tribal groups, they die poor. They die uncelebrated. Why? Why would our sportsmen, people who designed the national flag, people who did this and did that, start to beg for money at the end of their lives? Why is it that when a pastor is to be buried, we must do fundraising for his burial? Why? Executive leprosy, insensitivity to their own lack and their own needs. So they might also retain you for your nuisance value. Naaman had nuisance value to fight. The politician will have you around him for your nuisance value. I'm the personal assistant on security to Governor this, personal assistant to this. I am the community vigilante leader, and that and that. If anything happens to you suddenly, your family will suffer. You are the dispatch rider demonstrating in front of the governor or the president. If you die, you will die a stupid death. They won't remember you. Where were all those people defending Buhari, defending APC, making noise up and down? Many of them will not be ministers. Many of them who were spokesmen, many of them who told lies on behalf of government have become inconsequential. They had executive leprosy from associating with greatness, but they were not great. So they can celebrate your talent, celebrate the grace upon you, celebrate your capacity. Oh, Dr. Apoki, it doesn't get into my head. As guest preacher, they will carry me with siren. They will carry me this protocol. They will wear suit, this, that. I knew and I know where I come from. There was one of the days they carried me with siren. That my wife told me, say, don't follow them. Oh. You know, when we go home, we used to enter a motorbike and we used to trek. Lo and behold, after I finished speaking for 3 days, I spoke. People were pulling their trousers, pulling wristwatches, dropping their handsets. I did not raise funds. I did not ask anything. It was when I left, the bishop did that. And they brought all those things. But the next day, another guest preacher came. The man who was doing protocol for me was there, and with the new guest speaker, he did not even greet me. He did not greet me. He is still, or even less than who he is now, doing protocol, associating with big men of God. But I have passed him. I have personalized my life. I planned for myself. So, now, the next thing is that you can have the capacity, you can have the commitment to a general cause, as I said, of an organization, but you don't have a sense of pain. The sense of pain can be summarized by Chris Agyriss principle. Chris Agyriss was a management consultant who have formulated so many theories of organizational formulated so many laws in organizational theory. One of his principles that is not very popular states that if for any normal psychologically mature adult, a time comes when his personal goals come in conflict with organizational goals. Jacob was in his in-laws' animal husbandry business. He noticed that he had stayed there for 14 years and beyond. He now asked his father-in-law one question: when do I build my own business? If you don't have that question in your mind, you are in a system at the age of 50, you don't have that question in your mind, you have executive leprosy. You are living in another man's country, you have not questioned what happens in old age, if I go back to my own country, what do I have in my country? You don't think of that, you have executive leprosy. So, you associate with big people, you are their drivers, you are their PA, you are their secretary. I see young girls work with pastors' wives, they stay there until they reach 40-something, they are not yet married. Don't you think about your own life? Naomi once told Ruth, is it not time I found a home for you? Most of these people don't really care about you. They will never ask you. David was playing music for Saul, doing electroconvulsive musicotherapy for Saul to cast out demons from him. But Saul did not know David. When David was going to kill Goliath, Saul said, whose son is that? So despite all, a lot of people you follow, they are hypomaniacs, they are narcissists. They think of only themselves, their families, just like our politicians, the ministry. The ministry because it brings resources, the organization because it brings upliftment. They don't care about you. The police does not care about you. The electricity company does not care about you. Customs does not care about you. It is their profit and the dividends. Remember my iron law of oligarchy and the two-tribe theory. So you don't have any sense of pain through the Agyriss principle. I've been building churches. I've been transferred from here to here. A man was insulted by his landlord, and he said, I served this country in different formations of the Nigerian police force. I was in Sokoto, I was there, I was here. Then, and you can't respect me after serving this nation. When he got home, when he got into the house, the boy, his son, asked him, Daddy, as you served in all these places, why didn't you build a house somewhere? And the father said, that's a very good question, but don't let your own children ask you the same question. So, Agyriss theory. So, it says he was a man of valor, highly respected, but that thing means there is something else. There is something that is essential, something that is visible, something a need, something that is an obvious defect. Defect in his life, defect in his future, defective in his character. But you have been going up and down, winning nations for Christ, capturing territories for Christ. At 40-something, you are not yet married. You don't have a family yet. When are you going to have a family? You have not put one block on top of other for your children's children. Say the righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You don't have anything to say you existed. So you have been all over the place. You're doing motivational speaking. You don't have any company to show. Oh, I've seen people do motivational speaking. When you go to their homes and you go to around them, there's nothing to show. That's executive leprosy. You do deliverance around Africa, you do this, do that, nothing to show. All these ones I'm teaching you now, if you come to my personal life and there's nothing to show, it's executive leprosy. My wife will always tell me, this one you are teaching people about business, this one you are promoting people, you are motivating people. Let there be results. Let these results be seen in our children. If not, it's executive leprosy. You have been teaching people who are now graduates, but you are not a graduate. That's executive leprosy. Nigeria is one of the cheapest countries to school. And there are schools all over. Open university, this campus, that campus, and you cannot maximize such opportunities and go to school. Executive leprosy. You even write exams for people, but you have not passed university exam. You've not done, I know somebody like that. Hey, I taught this person, it's not a graduate, I taught this. And you don't have anything to show academically. That's executive leprosy. You're not sensitive to your need. You're not sensitive to your pain. You're not sensitive to the pressure. Lepers don't feel pressure. They don't feel pain. We will see another set of 4 lepers, 10 lepers and 4 lepers. 4 lepers at the city gate said, why do we sit here until we die? If we go into the city, they will not accept us. Why don't we just go out there? And we will study that as a follow-up to this lecture. So, don't just go around traveling. I know pastors, they're all over the place. But they will send you a note when they want to pay their children's school fees. So this God you serve and you decree upon people, I say this year, I say this, and after this meeting, come and sow a seed. You can't pay your children's school fees. I was amazed at one. All over the countries, here and there, from London, from this, from that, laughed at my wife that my wife does not dress well. The next thing was that The person sent a message that I should give 250,000 for her to pay school fees for the daughter in a private university. So my wife that does not dress well, she will now send money to you that dresses well to pay your child's school fees. That's executive leprosy. You're not sensitive. So people are ready to tolerate you and even celebrate you with your leprosy. Unless something happens, you might not know. Listen, you can do comedy skits. You can entertain people. You can be a comedian. You can make people laugh. If there is nothing eventually tangible that comes out of your life, you are useless. It's executive leprosy. A madman is always entertaining in town, but very embarrassing to those of his family, to the family he comes from. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you associating with? What is associated with you? What office are you occupying? What packaging are you doing? Is it deep enough to be handed over to your children's children? Don't come and quote rubbish scriptures here to prove that you are very spiritual. The reality remains that a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. The reality is that John G. Lake was arrested for practicing medicine in Spokane without license. 100,000 documented healings took place. The reality that he was in the Kalahari praying for people. People were getting healed, but his wife died of hunger. The reality was that the children born of that woman refused to become Christians because they said that their father could not take care, the God of their father could not take care of their mother. The reality is that Jonathan Edwards, when he died, his descendants included Aaron Burr, one-time vice president of the United States of America. They had several professors, several lawyers. He was president of Princeton University. The reality is that Harvard University is named after a pastor. Let's not just come here and sing rubbish songs. It won't be long, we'll be going home. When you don't have anything tangible you are doing here on earth to bless humanity, you always like to talk about rapture. You always like to talk about rapture. You always want to run away from this world. You always see end times. African leaders, let me tell you, you will go to Europe, you wear the biggest clothes. You go with the largest entourage. You sleep in the most expensive hotels, and you come from backward countries. You have executive leprosy. Nigerian bishops, Nigerian Christians, you run to Israel for pilgrimage. Pilgrimage, some of you are JP++, and you come from very dirty nations, very corrupt nations. JP++. Who comes for tourism in your country? Who comes for tourism in your country? What do you have to show for all the tourism you have gone to in Israel? Look at a desert nation, excelling. And when you go there and come back, you don't feel guilty. You have executive leprosy. When you go to Europe as African presidents, African commissioners, African governors, buy houses there, squander money there, send your children to school. I'm not talking out of jealousy. My children are there. And you cannot bring what you see or what you have seen in Europe, in America, to Africa. You are an executive leper. No apologies. I'm Dr. Charles Apoki. Remember, I didn't add I'm your friend now. I'm Dr. Charles Apoki. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Charles Apoki. Do that so that you can partner with this ministry and share this post to as many people as possible. And then you can join my WhatsApp mentoring group by sending a message to +234 7052136763. And then we have properties for sale in our new city. The new phases, we've had phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. We're going to phase 5, phase 6, phase 7. We still have properties for sale. We sell half acre, 1 acre. Also send a message to +234 52136763. The prices are going up. Now is the time to buy. Go to my online bookshop, petrapublications.com, and buy my materials. God bless you.